Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to FACEIT Challenger Invitational number 2, sponsored by, as you can see there, Overwolf. My name is Vince Metuz. This guy to my left is James Stress O'Leary, and we are in the picks and bans for game number 3 between Tick, Trick, and Duck and SK Gaming Prime.
We are indeed. I do not expect to see a Master Yi pick. Unless, well, they banned out Ziggs.
Well, I wouldn't be too surprised if they ban or pick Jinx. I think Sunny was that good on the character.
Yeah, actually, I kind of have to agree. Or at least, yeah, pick it away, I think, is probably... but the situation they're in is if they pick Jinx first, then they're vulnerable to a Leona pick. If they don't pick Jinx first, it could easily be picked up by TTD.
It's true. It is very, very true. But LeBlanc and Yasuo have both been banned out alongside the Kha'Zix. So it doesn't seem like they're too bothered just yet.
So a lot of changes from last game. So this leaves Elise, Castadin, Thresh,
Lulu.
Annie, Vi, Lulu.
Lots and lots of strong characters.
So any of those I expect to see here.
I think Perry's going to go for Vi.
Either that or Elise here. I think are the two big choices that are open. I would... In any other game, I'd expect the Elise, but as you said, Vi, they had such a good game in game number 1. Okay, it is Elise.
It is Elise. Sorry, I just pointed to the camera.
Yeah, it's okay. No, I knew what you meant. As soon as you pointed
to my monitor. But yeah, Elise is the first pick in here from SK Gaming, so you were dead on the money there. Interesting to see if they go for Vi themselves, though, Tick, Trick, and Duck, because they went for it last time around, and it did pay out pretty well.
It did. I wonder, though, because Elise against Vi is a little bit different, because Elise is very, very good at trading early on.
True.
So Vi is a little bit susceptible at that point, and if you don't get ahead at that point, it can be a little bit difficult to get back if you give too many kills over to Elise. But again, consistency is the key with Vi.
It's very true. But they are going to potentially go for the Renekton at the top lane for Phantom Joe, who of course was running the Jax last time around. Didn't have a great early game, but iNightmare did do his best to claw him back into this. It looks like they're going to be going for the Annie as support. So 2 standard opening picks.
What that does kind of signify is they're not going to go for Jinx here. I would be surprised to see a Jinx pickup with Leona still available. The other thing that Annie does is kind of put a little bit of pressure on against a Thresh pickup, because Thresh isn't quite as good against Annie as he is against Leona. Against Leona, you can flay as the Zenith Blade comes in, you can deny a lot of what she has in lane, whereas the Annie initiation with Flash Tibbers is far, far more difficult to disrupt. However, Thresh is consistent in lane. Ooh, that still catches me off guard whenever they hover over Valkos, because I'm like, what champion? Oh, okay. We'll see.
It just looks like a big vision ward.
It does.
From above, I guess. But actually, I thought they were going to... They heard what you said about you wanting to bring Rumble back. But
I don't think they do that with a Shyvana and an Elise in game. The Thresh getting locked in is... yeah, I'd expect that.
Oh, please. Please, Kitty Cat Rengar, please. I'd love to see Rengar played. It's such an entertaining character to watch, but I don't think it'll get locked in. Although Snow is known for running unconventional picks, so I think he could actually go for Vel'Koz. It would not surprise me.
It would kind of surprise me in the sense that they haven't had much time to practice it.
Well, it looks as though they're caught in 2 minds, but Vi is going to get locked in at the end of that. I don't know if they would go for the Ashe. Just Ashe against Thresh doesn't really sound like a great idea to me.
No, and they're ticking through 80 carries that typically aren't played. So
Trist, yeah.
No. There was one game, I think, in LCS, but I can't remember that often. Not with Annie.
Most people have forgot Urgot even exists, myself included.
Speaking of people that don't exist, Quinn was ticked over there for a very short period of time right before locking Jinx in. So they're going with Jinx. Without Leona, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Thresh, it does have a lot of crowd control, but that being said, you can dodge the hook fairly well, whereas Leona's is a little bit trickier to really get away from.
That is very, very true. But Lucian Thresh is, for me, an extremely strong lane. If you land the death sentence, the follow-up damage from piercing light into the passive Lucian, double shot and everything else is just incredible. Plus, of course, the box culling combination is very difficult to deal with as a Jinx, because you get caught with Jinx. If your flash is down, you're dead.
Yeah, that's very true.
Sorry to be blunt, but that's pretty much the way it goes.
Now, both mid laners have been left till last. Gragas would be the first Gragas of the day, which is not something...
Yeah.
That look on your face is exactly the internal discussion I'm having, is that I haven't seen Gragas all day.
Yeah, normally Gragas is like highly contested as a pick, especially in the challenger scene in EU. I'm not sure if it's the same in NA, but here, Gragas is normally the go-to mid laner.
Yeah, and we haven't seen him yet today. But they're saying that there are a lot of mid laners right now that are pretty strong. You look at a Lulu, you look at Orianna, LeBlanc, Gragas. I mean, Nidalee, plenty. Lots to be seen. I wonder whether Vel'Koz will take his spot in that kind of strong mid laners group. They're hovering over it for a very long time, which tells me they're not going to pick it. Typically, if you're going to pick it, you just locked it in. Or they're discussing about it. So it's one of those things that we'll see. I would more expect Nidalee to be picked up here.
If they do lock Nidalee in, though, they've got like a pick and mix comp. They've got high engage, high poke, and decent enough sustain, but they don't really excel at anything. It's just like pick and mix.
Yeah, it's one of those jack of all trades, master of none kind of compositions that can see success. Again, it's more about catching one person and then kind of sieging off that, or landing one spear and then taking a turret and rotating out. So it's fairly similar to what we saw out of, I always want to say SK, it's Ocelot's Gamers 2. Yeah. You say Ocelot SK for so long that it just kind of ingrains itself. I can't remember who it was. I used to call them I still call Acer Amazing.
Yeah.
Because of how long he had that ace attack for.
That's really when I first noticed him in casting, was when he played for Acer.
Yeah, I know. And I casted him on Acer for so long that it just is ingrained. And it's the same with Ocelot. And it's the same with a lot of players, actually. But, that's just the case.
I think he was in his next team with the Acer tag.
He was,
so it was even more confusing. He just gets imprinted into your brain.
But that's not this game.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's
true.
us just like reminiscing about a year ago. So
nostalgia. But in this game, looking at the comps, it's a pretty stable, solid comp on both teams. But as you said, both teams, I guess you could say, have a jack of all trades kind of vibe going for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Which of them do you feel can come out ahead here? Because I just personally, I think it's going to all come down to execution.
I feel like on paper, or at least my gut instinct, is that I prefer SK's team composition.
Right.
Just from when you look at two team compositions, you're like, I feel like this one's the strong. It's just ingrained in there. That
exactly.
You can't like put exactly why without breaking it down. Yeah, exactly. I just feel like, although Shyvana has been adjusted and Gragas, we haven't seen him yet today, I still feel like they're very consistent. Elise is very consistent. Lucian, Thresh, consistent. Whereas Jinx in the last game actually took SK giving them kills to get rolling. That's one key thing to look at.
That's an extremely good point. Because there's two ways of looking at it. One is to say Sunny played phenomenally well, was perfect. Another is to say SK did make quite a few throws. I
think it's actually a little both. Because Sunny played very well after being given the pretty... needlessly given over kills in the early game. So there's definitely an aspect of both, but I feel like Svanillan and Six have just kind of outlaned Sunny and Bonaparte.
That's also a very good point as well. It seemed that Sunny excels in those team fight kind of skirmish situations where, to be fair, Jinx also excels in them. You get one passive proc and suddenly you're like the Flash. You can just go all over the place. Because it's quickly snowballs, kind of like Yi in that way that we were talking about in the previous game. But that's a very good point. In the laning phase, they've typically been number 2.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's not really a comment on their abilities in lane. It just seems to be how the aggression has panned out, the champion picks. We'll see whether it's the same in this game as well. But we are into the last minute of the delay period, guys. So we'll be in game very shortly. Of course, this is the FACEIT Challenger Invitational number 2, powered by Overwolf. You can see them behind us, our friends at Overwolf. And, face it, not everybody's aware yet. We're going to educate everybody as much as possible on how you guys can win a car by playing League of Legends. Because simply put, that is how I'm branding this. You can win a car by playing League of Legends.
And the thing is, he's not even baiting or exaggerating. You literally can. Or CSGO or Quake, depending on whatever your game choice is. but probably League of Legends if you're watching this stream. Let's be real. So you play on FACEIT.com. You have to sign up and then link your account. And basically, when you win games, you play games, you win FACEIT points. And then after a period of time, you can redeem them for gaming peripherals or the aforementioned car that Stress mentioned earlier. So it's that simple. You log on to FACEIT.com, register an account, link it to your game, and then you could be in the running for a car.
Yeah, of course, you accumulate points, and then if you get 5 million, which is a fair task. I mean, they're not just giving the car away. I'm just going to say that. You do have to kind of earn the car. But, it's not that. For those of us that play League every day anyway, it's not that big a deal.
It's true.
And you don't have to deal with solo queue either.
Yeah,
that's another positive.
It's 1v1s, 3v3s, 5v5s. So if you're a lone wolf kind of player, or you've just got a couple friends that you like to play with, it's all there for you.
So if you have that Diamond 1 player who's hovering at like 10 points Diamond 1, which isn't really Diamond 1, you know what I'm talking about. You know that kind of player. If you got that friend, but you're in Bronze, and you know you're better than that guy, he hasn't got money from being in Diamond 1. He's not in LCS. You just want a car. What's he won from Diamond 1? Bronze. That's where it's at. Winning cars in Bronze.
That is the strangest logic I've ever heard, but you know what? I like it.
That's right. He hasn't won a car.
I like it. Or, as we were saying before, if you're a CSGO player and you're a Legendary Eagle or whatever, go play with Silvers.
Yeah.
Because...
No, you don't want to exploit the system. That would be bad.
Well, make a Smurf and then do it, which I guess is also exploiting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Sorry. Just forget everything I just said, because we are onto the Rift now for the third and decisive game in this best of 3 between Tick, Trick, and Duck and SK Gaming Prime. Both of these games have gone fairly one-sided on either way, actually.
They have. I mean, I kind of feel like both games really just started out with SK taking control. And
That's
then from
true.
there, SK lost control in game 2. I think that is the way to put it. They lost control, and TTD grabbed that opportunity, which is something we've seen from TTD. They were playing in, I want to say they placed 4th in Challenger Split 1. TTD did. So they are a good team when they have the opportunity to do that, and we've seen them do that in game 2. They were given the opportunity, you gave them an inch, they took a mile.
Exactly, yeah. The perfect opportunists is Sunny. And as you said before, the phrase that you so enjoy is unforced errors.
Yep.
And that really was the summary of game number 2 from SK Gaming's perspective. And you can only beat what's in front of you. Sunny got kills that you could say were mistakes from SK, but man, oh man, did he punish them.
Yeah.
He played pretty much perfectly after the laning phase.
There's not a lot more to say about that, actually. Then he took them and punished SK for giving them away. And SK were overconfident in game 1 as well. There were times where they looked to be over-aggressive, diving towers, which, was their intent with the Ohm Wrecker. But we've seen that overconfidence, and they've got to be careful that they're not doing that again, because it just cost them a game.
If they can find the right balance between aggression and just being overly confident, I think this team will be almost unstoppable in the challenger scene. I really do. That's how individually talented I think they are. Bonaparte going super aggressive will get flayed from 6 though, and come out slightly behind in that trade as a result. But Nidalee against Gragas, this is something we see quite often. How do you feel it's going to go?
It's one of those lanes that for the early game, kind of Gragas is able to shove in quite a bit on Nidalee. Nidalee does kind of suffer from the fact that it just is auto attacks. You can see Barrel does a significant amount of damage. Heal comes out, will heal up. So I don't expect there to be any kills very early on, as that's just how a Nidalee lane is. But Gragas is going to shove in towards Nidalee. Nidalee will hit levels 4 through 6, start being able to contest a little bit more, then be able to reset the lane. And from there, it turns into a very standard Nidalee lane of Nidalee won't get caught, Nidalee won't catch anyone.
Yeah,
It's
very true.
Yeah.
But again, the junglers, Vi and Elise, are very capable of making ganks happen on a frequent basis. So if they can try and catch Snow before he hits 6, then it's possible they could lock Nidalee down enough to get the snowball rolling against him. But again, it's a case of Gragas kind of needs 6 as well to make sure they definitely get the kill.
Yeah, because it's all down to kind of catching Nidalee in a position where you disrupt her so that her leap doesn't really put her in a direction. If you don't land that Gragas barrel, it's very, very difficult to catch onto her, especially if flash is available. So, again, it's mid laners that don't get caught very easily, and we've seen that for so long. Elise is looking for a gank into the bottom lane. Can they make this work?
Well, has been spotted by a ward, and I don't think she made it work. Oh, did she? Because Sunny's been caught right now. They're going underneath the tower. So much damage forces away the barrier and the flash. Even though they don't get the kill, 2 summoners on the AD carry, none used from SK.
And which AD carry is it that the summoners are down for?
Jinx.
Yep, and which AD carry doesn't do too well without a flash?
Is it Jinx?
I think so. The more you know. So yeah, that's going to be pretty fatal now if they can land a hook, or even at this point a Flay does significant crowd control onto Jinx to land a lot of damage, and from there you look for it again and you just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, very, very true. It was a really nice death sentence, actually, that started all of that off. What I was going to say before Elise came down to bot lane is I feel the other lanes aren't really amazingly gankable, if that's even a word. I've just made it. That being said, though, as if to prove me wrong, Mozilla is going to go down from iNightmare for First Blood. But typically, I would expect the junglers to camp bot, because for me, that's where most of the kills are going to come from.
Yeah, I do agree, and that was a little bit of a freak occurrence up in the top lane. I mean, typically, the top laners, as they head to this point in the game, will have started to recall to get their items. Well, it's a little bit early for recalling, actually, so that's completely wrong. As they head towards 6, they'll have not quite traded so much. Both of them were very low at that point, and they actually caught Shyvana going all in on Renekton. So neither were at 6, both were very low, no way to survive through that team fight. So it was just a very good opportunistic gank out of Nightmare.
Yeah, and kind of expected in a way, I guess, because if you looked at his kind of thought process in game number 2, it was camp top.
Yeah.
It was go top like every single possible time. So in a way, I guess Mozilla's probably feeling pretty hard done by in these last 2 games, that he has been so camp from my Nightmare.
Now, Mozilla has got a chain vest. That's a fairly significant item, but because it's too early to have gone back, unlike I just said, he has no health potions to go with that. So his actual survivability in lane is going to be fine for 1 engagement, and then after that, you're relying on any lifesteal that you may have, which I wouldn't expect him to have too much of, if any. Unfortunately, I don't have the facilities to actually check that right now, but it's not something typical you run more than a couple of %, if any, on Shyvana.
And whereas on the opposite side, Phantom Joe has a pickaxe and a longsword, so he's going to be putting down quite a bit of damage himself. And Renekton early game, we've talked about this previously, is just a terror to play against. He is a bully, well and truly a lane bully. So it's not looking too good for Mozilla here. Have to feel that at least that Perry is going to have to get himself involved in some way.
You can see Mozilla's already taken some damage. Has hit 6 first, right as Phantom hit 6 as well. This is going to be an aggressive play.
But exactly what you said before. He's got the chain vest, that's fine, but he's now been pushed out of lane. And he can't hope to do anything. He can't hope to get any of the CS. He has to go back. Yeah,
and he's still behind on CS. So even that time spent in lane wasn't enough to catch him up. And now he has to back. Perry's going to take the wave to make sure it doesn't push into the tower. But that just gives them an idea of where the jungler is. And we already know that Vi is very, very strong in the early game for taking down Dragon and soloing it down. So a push from bottom lane could apply the pressure that they need to either steal Dragon or more easily steal this blue buff that's about to spawn.
That looks to be what's going to be on the cards here. Interesting enough, even though Sunny had no summoners, he's not really found himself going behind on CS. Here comes Perry, though. He has been caught. The repel up into the air. He's going to be dropping back down just a flash away. Phantom Joe chases afterwards, and the blue has been picked up from iNightmare in the meanwhile. But Perry should be okay to escape. However, that's a blue buff and a flash down.
Yeah, Nightmare securing it with the smite because... Oh, doesn't matter, bottom lane.
I was going to say Sunny hasn't been caught, but there we go. Just to prove me wrong, Sunny is taking a lot of damage right now from Lucian. Is he going to get the kill? Flashes in to secure it. Could be going for the second. Actually, Barry is up there, and in doing so, stops any damage coming in, but Annie wasn't even interested to start with.
Sunny also had barrier available. I'm not too sure why he didn't use it, but... unless it had just come up. I hadn't quite seen the timer on it as the kill went through, but there's the importance of Sunny not having flash. He's not able to get away from that engage, and really that is just the difficulty of Jinx.
Exactly, in a nutshell. And that's, if you land a death sentence on Jinx, even if you don't kill her, you're going to get a solo, she has to go back.
Yeah.
And then you make an advancement anyway. In fact, the Assault Bastion comes into Mozilla, will be forced to Dragon Sent away, but gets the kill regardless. Nice play to get the kill in return, though. 1-for-1.
1-for-1 trade will be good for Mozilla there. The problem they have is that Mozilla is still behind. SK taking Dragon while Vi is in top is very, very smart here. That's exactly what they need to ensure that they're keeping up with this. That'll give Mozilla a little bit of the gold back that he's lacking from the minions that have been taken down by Renekton, that he's got an advantage, but it's not that big a consolation for Mozilla alone because, you know, as they've changed Dragon Gold, it's not worth as much right now.
And look at those item differences right now at bot lane for the AD carries. Lucian with a BF Sword Vampiric Scepter, the components for a Bloodthirster, whereas on the flip side, Jinx doesn't even have a Vampiric Scepter, just double Dorans and a Longsword. That's a massive difference in damage output. Yeah,
that's huge, and you'll see that as Lucian returns to lane. Sunny's done a good job of putting damage down onto the turret, though, which, you know, is going to pressure them out, means that the next time SK go back in that bottom lane, it is likely to be the turret falling. But SK, with Dragon down for now, would expect their tower likely to have fallen before the next Dragon anyway. So as for Dragon control, that doesn't actually do too much. It's just the gold that's going across.
So I have to see how this one works out. By going for double golems, potentially going to go to top lane afterwards, which, interesting enough, we were saying we thought bot lane was going to be the focal point of everything, but if anything, it's been top. We've seen so much action at the top lane from these two.
Mozilla this time has health potions. I'm a lot more confident in his ability now to fight this fight, because it sounds really strange, but that extra survivability in lane between fights is really what dictates top lane in these tank versus tank fights, because that's why Mundo has been so good, is because he doesn't require as much assistance from the health potions, but a champion like Shyvana really requires it because doesn't have the same kind of regeneration that Renekton has from Cold Meek.
Yeah, very true. Plus, also added 2 Doran's Blades as well, so that's going to be extra attack damage and also a bit of lifesteal on top of that. So, well, health back per auto attack.
Yeah, I never know how to say that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one.
It's a strange one. It used to be lifesteal. Bring back 2% lifesteal.
Yeah,
please.
but regardless, it gives a bit more sustain, gives a bit more damage, and it can definitely go toe-to-toe a bit easier with Renekton, who's finished off the Tiamat, which fairly standard.
Yeah, and Tiamat on Renekton is something that was brought in fairly recently.
Yep.
It's to do with the way that once you've landed your stun, you can actually animation cancel the stun with a Tiamat to allow you to slice away, or slice through and land further damage. So it's one of those intuitive things on Renekton that makes him less tanky, but you can pretty much all-in someone very easily. Bonaparte gets hooked, though.
Speaking of all-inning, looks like that's exactly what SK Gaming Prime are going to do on Bonaparte. Nice flash away from 6, so doesn't take any of that rocket damage. Sunny flashes in to finish off the kill onto the Thresh, but in doing so, sacrifices his own life. Here comes Vi from the backside, not quite fast enough, but will be getting the kill regardless. 4-3 the scoreline. Phantom Joe nearly falls at top.
2 kills going over to TTD, 1 kill for SK in that exchange, but as they've already powered down that tower through the health bar earlier, they will pick that one up fairly easily. So overall, that exchange does go to TTD. While SK want to push down this top turret, they can't quite get it yet. They will get it on this push, though.
This is very reminiscent of the second game. Sunny did not have a good laning phase. We said this before, and yet bounced back. And this time around, very similar situation. I don't think that SK are going to make the same mistake twice, though.
I hope not. I hope for their sake not.
I'd be very surprised if they did.
I mean, that would be the third game that they'll have been far too overconfident. And it's one of those things that you really cannot afford to be overconfident in this current meta game, and Snow will dodge out the hook. Right now, it is fairly easy. I don't want to say so easy to come back in a game, because it's not. It still requires work, but it is much easier to come back into a game these days than it used to be at the end of Season 3. At the end of Season 3, towers were pushed incredibly quickly, and you kind of just let the game fall away from you if you didn't do something massive about it. This time, you can really bleed and grind a game back by slowing your opponents as much as possible.
Yeah, very true. Or you can also play for time and hope they make mistakes.
Yeah.
Allow you back into the game with the likes of Baron or just basically doing bad engages. Sunny has been caught again from 6. This time around, they're going to be trying to put all the damage down, and indeed they will do so.
Okay.
And that's the second or third time I've seen Sunny get caught from a death sentence completely needlessly.
Okay, and this kind of tells me that SK aren't going to let it happen again. They have focused on Sunny at every opportunity that he has overstepped into lane. He did it again. The Bloodthirster to the BF sword we brought up in game 1, that disparity of items is so big that you will heavily outtrade with that completed Bloodthirster.
Oh, here comes the Tibbers from Bonaparte, and also at the same time we got action at top lane. Mozilla and Phantom Joe going one-on-one. Bonaparte's not in a great position right now. Lucian could be picking up another kill. Oh, box narrowly missing. He walks back into it. And your reaction is exactly how I was feeling. But Annie didn't die. I have to say, maybe deserved to. Harsh, but, you know, true.
Harsh, but true.
I stand by what I said.
Exile's going to stand by that turret as it goes down, and as will bottom lane. That is 2 turrets in the stereo. Bonaparte is sticking around. Bonaparte, what are you doing?
Culling comes out, getting blocked by good guy Sunny, and now Eye Nightmare from the side. Will Sunny fall, however, due to this? Yes, he will! And Lucian picking up a kill out of nowhere. However, Eye Nightmare again has picked up a kill, so he's got 3 of them, but meanwhile, Tick, Trick, and Duck are losing their mid towers.
Yeah, SK are going to push that one down as well, as long as they can dodge those spears. Doesn't look like they'll be able to complete that one, as Phantom Joe has roamed as well. Mozilla's following. Exile's going to block an important spear, but taken very low.
Yep, Exile is backing on away. With Nick taking down. Will the Javelin land? Of course it will. Snow picks up that kill. Pretty big kill on top of everything else that's happening. And interestingly enough, without looking at the score, I thought SK Gaming were way ahead. They're actually a kill behind.
They are up in gold, which is going to get a little bit equalized now from TTD, who are going to take the Dragon. Very intuitive there. Takes down Gragas in the middle lane, swings around to Dragon. Good, consistent play out of TTD.
So for all of the horror at bot lane, Vite's doing a good job overall of steadying the ship. Renekton is ahead of Shyvana as well on CS and also assists. And on top of that, Nidalee is doing a pretty nice job in mid. So it seems like almost a role reversal right now for the team of Tick, Trick, and Duck, as Snow has been caught in mid lane. Do they have the follow-up damage? I'm not too sure about that one. Mozilla is now taking so much himself, but will be dark passaging away.
Yeah, didn't know that you could fit a dragon quite on that lantern, but apparently you can.
Thresh is a strong dude.
He is just going to haul Shyvana all the way.
Just one arm pulls it back and it's like, yep, no problem. I wonder how much a dragon weighs.
I would not want to ask Shyvana how much she weighs.
Yeah,
you really want to fear that?
You may get your head bitten off.
Flame breath, just...
Yeah, exactly. But is she... Well, let's not get into that conversation. This is League of Legends. This is SK Gaming versus Tick, Trick, and Duck. And right now, it's pretty much on a knife edge.
It is.
This is super close.
One thing to take into account, again, is that Vanillan has the advantage over Sunny so far. This time, it is a far bigger advantage than previously. You look at 4 and 2 to 1 and 4, then the CS on top of that. So I'm a little bit more confident in SK this time around than the last time. We'll have to see how they react in this middle game. The mid game, though, is this is the part where they started to let it slip.
I just wonder if this jack-of-all-trades approach from Tick, Trick, and Duck is going to prove to be fatal for SK Gaming, because Nidalee is chugging along. Like, nothing extraordinary, but is getting the farm and is managing to get some AP items. Phantom Joe, he's going to be fine, slicing and dicing me, but Mozilla's just constantly forcing him back, and at least actually moving to top.
The thing about this Nidalee is actually kind of one of those jack-of-all-trades within Nidalee right now, is... has got some cooldown reduction, has got some mana, has got some AP. Hasn't gone flat, I'm going to go, Rabadon's first rush, screw my mana. Phantom Joe is going to get away from the... is going to get away. My first assessment
was... repelling in for Perry, but really like, what the... Flash? What the flash? That works.
Did Perry just cancel the animation on the Q? I don't know, I didn't see it. It's okay.
I think what the flash needs to be a thing. I don't really understand what happened there.
I thought that was a kill, and then it wasn't a kill. And then I thought it was a kill again.
Yeah, and that sure was a rocket flying up to top.
Hey, look, you just want to get the vision. Go fast.
Well, regardless, they did force Phantom Joe back, and now it's a complete opposite Role reversal from the previous game where Sunny is now getting e-bullied from Lucian, and that's a nice barrier to stop that kill.
Gonna celebrate that with some champagne. Look at that.
Yeah, it's good to be alive.
It is. That's some very animated champagne drinking. But that's one of the downfalls of the culling, is that, you know, it's all down to when the minion waves join. It's all down to when the minion waves join the lane. As you saw it all just got blocked there by Annie. That just blocked by the minion waves, so Jinx couldn't take it down.
Go home stressed, you're drunk.
But Jinx is drunk. Did you see the champagne?
I did. Very excited. But to be fair, it's good to be alive, but you're 40 CS behind, and you're 1-4. So it's good to be alive, but are you actually alive? Let's get contemplative right now.
Wow, that's deep.
That is deep for a League of Legends cast. So let's move on. I'm going to go ahead and say you're alive until Lucian corners you, and then you're probably dead. Speaking of being cornered, Mozilla has just been assaulted and batteried by Iron Nightmare. A long way to go right now, but Dragon's Descent and the flash afterwards could buy him enough time. Beautiful Vault Breaker in, though. Mozilla will be falling down to an Renekton.
And TTD once again focusing out Mozilla, and it's something that really has become evident as Sunny is going to get locked down. I thought, no, he's actually going to turn this one around.
Oh, 1-for-1 though. That's an important kill, I have to feel, for Jinx, because that's just going to give a bit of gold back. And, you know, yes, Sunny does have the tools in his back pocket to carry his team, but this is a very different game from the last one. He hasn't been given any free kills. He hasn't been basically put on a much higher pedestal. Snow is probably going to fall down right now from Lucian. In fact, he flashes away instead.
Not only minions. Oh, Six is going to get aggressed upon.
Yeah, but he's just going to flash away. So lots of summoners being burnt up across the board. In fact, does everyone have their flash on cooldown? No. 3 players from TTD don't.
Yeah, TTD with some of their flashes available. That's one of the other drawbacks of Lucian's ult, is once you start casting it in one direction, you've kind of got to kind of angle yourself to go along with them. So if they just move around a wall, it's very difficult to actually connect with the rest of it.
It's why I've personally never enjoyed playing Lucian, because I suck at his ultimate, and it just puts me off. I just rage.
I think the first time I played, I accidentally tapped it twice and like fired one. I was like, well, that was underwhelming.
Worst ulti ever. I never played him again.
Yeah. Well, no, I have played him again. He's a pretty good guy. He's a pretty good champion, I hear.
He is pretty good, yeah, in the right hands, but those hands are not mine, unfortunately. However, Zavanlian, I have no idea how to pronounce his name properly.
I say Svanillan, but...
Zavanlian.
Rule 3, don't try and pronounce names on stream you know you can't pronounce names.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Lucian,
here's me trying to butcher his name.
Well, Dragon was picked up. Yeah, I'm going to call him Lucian from now on. I think that's pretty safe. I mean, no disrespect to the player, but I'd rather just say Lucian than butcher his name every time. Six has been caught, though. Will be falling down, you have to feel right now, from Tick, Trick, and Duck. And Soul Battery actually used to pick up that kill. Aforementioned Lucian now is going to go on to Nightmare, but doesn't want to chase them down because all 5 players... Oh my goodness, that burst damage from Gragas. And now they're going to engage off the back of it, but this is a 4 versus 5 situation. SK biting off more than they could chew there.
Yeah, also I don't think TTD actually wanted to use his Salt and Battery to pick up the initial kill onto 6 there. They really were holding off on that as long as possible, but with that on cooldown, didn't look like TTD wanted to engage either after taking a lot of damage from that explosive cask. They luckily managed to avoid the next barrel out of exile, which really would have put them low and really would have been a dangerous thing to try and come back from. But nevertheless, it was really only the 1 kill in that engagement. Now, Dragon not due up for a while, and most of the outer towers are down. We're down actually to just the inner ring for TTD. So, you have to think, now's the time they'll start to push in multiple lanes.
That's definitely possible. Rabadon's death cap for Nidalee is going to go some way to trying to force open opportunities, because, again, it's similar to the game we casted previously. If Nidalee lands a spear on the likes of Lucian, they can try and make plays. Bonaparte's been caught, however, from SK Gaming. Beautiful death sentence from 6 just to secure that kill. Parry will be taking that one down. And Nightmare alongside Phantom Joe have to back on away. Jinx is way down at bot lane, actually, so Yeah, it would have been a fairly precarious position, although Gragas too was not there.
SK just pinged the middle tower to look. Ooh, doesn't quite land the death sentence there. They're going to rotate around. I think they're going to leave Mozilla in the top lane as well. So trying to pressure these two lanes at once while they have the one-man advantage. And that could prove to be successful for SK. It just depends on how many spears they end up taking.
Well, it's pretty much down to SK to position themselves well here. As I'd say that one. I think it was Exile, just got poked a bit from Nidley. That's going to be in the engage from Iron Nightmare going with the Assault and Battery. He's been death sentenced and boxed up from Thresh. Now Phantom Joe's jumping in. Shut down from Lucian. Lots of damage being put out, but do they have the sustained damage? I'm not so sure. Now we're going to turn it back around again, and it ends up being a 2-for-1 with Nidley just flashing up red right now. Heals herself back to around quarter hit points, but it seems to be one of those games, Stress, where both teams kind of overestimate their own damage output.
It will be SK taking the turret, and Bonaparte is going to fall as well at the same time. And that's the turret that SK were looking for in that engagement.
It was, and they finally managed to pick that one up. So, having a quick look across the items here. Is anything standing out to you? I mean, personally, not really. Fairly standard.
Going to take a quick look just to make sure. No, I agree with you. They're fairly standard on this occasion. Of course, standard thing to pick up on Annie is that distortion upgrade on the boots, so you get that reduced cooldown on flash. So going to give you that extra engage tool, just in case anyone was wondering why level 3 boots so early on in this game and distortion with no teleport. You know, that gets me off guard every time. Even I always say that every time, but I'm like, who's playing an accordion?
Oktoberfest Gragas.
At least it's not like soul destroying like the Ghost Bride Morgana shriek.
At first I didn't know it was actually the skin was on the map, so I was really actually quite scared. A couple seconds. Mozilla's probably browning his undies at the moment as he's trying to run away from Phantom Joe, and actually he's going to be okay. That's one of the downsides about casting live, is I can see your reaction. Yep. So play from 6.
Phantom Joe and Mozilla are going to keep going at it in the top lane, and Perry's going to join them up here as well, and that could be what they need to really start dealing with some of this aggression up in the top. And the problem is, I feel like this feels like the laning phase, but laning ended about 10 to 15 minutes ago, and Phantom Joe isn't going to get away from this one.
No, way too far to travel to get back to safety, and Nidley's spears aren't doing as much damage as I was expecting, to be honest. It's just chipping away rather than punishing people.
Well, now that the Rabadon's death cap's been completed, after having the components for a while, there will be a bit more damage coming out, but Iron Nightmare's got to be careful that SK don't just completely rotate around up to the top lane. You can see they are doing that. Should get this tower now, but how much is TTD going to fight for it? This is a 4v4. Both of the top laners are missing. Doesn't look like SK want to push on.
Well, SK didn't really have an out-and-out tank there. Like, Perry's quite tanky, but not huge on resistances, because Shyvana wasn't there. So I think that may have been one of the reasons why they decided to back on away, because they realized they're fairly squishy. Yeah,
I agree. It's one of those things. Is why fight 4v4 when you have no tank? That's not a good thing.
Yeah, especially Shyvana has been pretty much the engaging champion on their side as well, jumping in with the Dragon's Descent, and then the follow-up from SK has been like Grag Assault and maybe a death sentence thrown in for good measure. So
yeah,
I think a lot revolves around the Shyvana.
Especially with Dragon coming up. It was about 30 to 40 seconds at the time, but now that it's up in 10 seconds, a fight up top would have been disastrous. They would have either let a turret go or SK would have given away Dragon control. In fact, SK don't have Dragon control right now. Dragon's spawning, and it's actually TTD that have the position on it, and Perry isn't there either. So TTD have started the Dragon. There's no reaction yet from Perry. I don't know whether he'll get there in time.
Well, the damage is already being done onto Exile. Flashing from Sunny does get the kill. Do you have the mechanics to get yourself away from this position? Flashing from Mozilla will say a big no. Shut down from Lucian. 2-for-1 trade, but The big characters right now from Tick, Trick, and Duck have been picked up. Renekton and Vi are all that remain, and I don't think Renekton is going to be alive for too much longer. Perry picks that one up. Vi is the only character left, and that's actually going back to no man's land, so not looking good. And instead of chasing, very smart play from Lucian and Elise, just say, okay, the rest of our team have got this. We're going to try and take this tower. They managed to pick up the tower, forced the flash away from iNightmare as well, so huge fight for SK.
They're also going to cut iNightmare off here and take the dragon. So they're not going to cut iNightmare off. They're just going to take dragon, which is the smart choice here, not to chase and get themselves that global objective. So now their gold lead is up to 7,000, 5 towers to 2, 15 kills to 11. So all going SK's way. But we've been in this position before.
We have. To be fair to them, though, they haven't made really any mistakes in this game.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a new look, an upgrade for them, because the first 2 games, like you said, even in the first game when they won very convincingly, they still made 2 or 3 very questionable decisions that led to free kills going to the opposition. So it's actually very kind of uplifting to see SK Gaming and Prime playing this way when ahead. Because, again, it's that kind of potential being fulfilled that we were talking about previously.
Interesting stuff in this game. Well, it's not that interesting, but Ratlies on Elise is going to give her a little bit more tankiness. Also, of course, that's slow. Not too sure when the last time I saw Ratlies Elise was, actually. But Mozilla's been caught out here.
He does have Dragon's Descent, though, but that's the Salt and Battery chasing after. Will the Lantern come good again? Yes, it will. And the Death Sentence onto Sunny again. He's been caught so many times in this game. And that's going to be a double kill for Gragas. Could very well be a triple kill right now. Nope, Elise comes in to pick up the pieces. But I got to say, Sonny, Game 2, he played phenomenal. This game, he's been caught like 5 times by Death Sentence.
Yeah, he's struggled a little bit to stay alive. And that's going to be a Baron going over to SK Prime. Ooh, can't quite get the hook. And 6 takes a spear for that one.
Ransom Joe comes in. Can he manage to steal this one away? Nope, Elise will be smiting that one out. And now Lucian is giving chase with all the double shots and the culling as well. Elise takes the kill. Red buff is going to be coming on over, and the Baron buff to boot.
Now, SK are going to back away from this one. Not going to go for an inhibitor. There's not really any point right now. They want to be as strong as they possibly can. Have all of their items, all of that power from the Baron buff as well. And we can take a look again at that Baron attempt. Or is this the fight? Yeah, this is going to be the little pre-Baron fight here. As you can see them go aggressive on towards that Assault and Battery chasing after the Dragon's Descent. Again, hook landing onto Sunny. He gets absolutely melted here. And from there, there's really no way that TTD can do anything about that. Even without Lucian in that fight, SK took that pretty handily.
Yeah, as soon as Sunny got caught by Death Sentence, that was it. It was done. There was no way he wasn't going to die from that situation. And after Sunny fell, there was like no follow-up damage. And this time around, you can see the differences in items between Lucian and Jinx and the CS. There's just massive, massive gaping holes.
Yeah, and it's just... I don't know how to describe it other than SK is just ahead. That's as basic as it needs to be right now.
Yeah.
SK have just done everything very well in this game as well. They have themselves an 11,500 gold lead here. That's not to say TTD don't have damage. You can see the Nidalee Spears are starting to hurt. The Void Staff has been completed, which does kind of put SK in a little bit of a fearful position, because if they get hit by one, Sunny actually gets dropped very, very low. Is going to get chased. I think that... Yeah, that was a Blade of the Rune King active picked up that kill.
Again, though, Sunny getting caught out of position.
And it costs him an inhibitor.
It's going to cost him at least an inhibitor. It could even be more than this. They may even push to finish. And they've got a tanky Shyvana at the front lines. Lucian with his double shots is just going to be taking these towers down so fast. This is forcing Tick, Trick, and Duck to try a last-ditch effort to engage this one. 1-for-1 trade so far in this mini skirmish, but they have done some damage to that Nexus tower. Going to be backing on away so far just to wait for these minions to come back in again. But they don't have Renekton, one of their tanks. They don't have their AD carry. This is looking really, really precarious for Tick, Trick, and Duck. This first Nexus tower is going to be falling after a few more auto attacks. There we go. Annie has finally been taken down from the hands of Perry. And there we go. Nexus tower has fallen. Big chunk of damage. Oh, wow! What just happened?
That was deleted. I'm sorry, Quickshot, but that right there... was actually just getting deleted, and that's going to be the game. There's no way that the TTD can come back into this.
I physically felt pain when that combo went off.
Yeah, it was a case of like the death animation happened before I saw the health bar go. I was like, that's Jinx's death animation.
I was just about to say Jinx is in trouble, and before I even said Jinx, she was dead. Oh, goodness me. Either way, this is going to be the game over. It's just a matter of time of how long they want to take. The answer is not much longer, and that is going to be the 2-1 victory for SK Gaming Prime up against Tick, Trick, and Duck. And, of course, they will go through to the semi-finals of the FACEIT Challenge Invitational.
Yeah, and that was kind of a repeat of game number 1 again. SK looked very strong throughout the entire game. Tick, Trick, and Duck still had their moments of where they looked like they can compete, but this time without being given quite so much. Weren't quite able to carry as much as they needed to, and Sunny got caught out quite a bit.
Yeah, it goes back to that analogy I made of Seesaw. Last game he was up, this game he was down. And there's two ways of looking at it again. One is to say Sunny's positioning was a bit meh. Another is to say Six's death sentences were on point.
Yeah.
He was on fire. I think it's a mixture of both, but Six played extremely well that game. I don't think supports get enough love, and he played so well.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I think we're actually going to show you a replay, because I hope it's like a super slow motion replay, because... And hopefully it doesn't include a replay of us sitting at the desks, because we both jumped back. But we're going to see that death again right at the end. So yeah, Sunny's just respawned. He's going to come out and land some damage. Oh wait. No, he's not.
Yep, that's just as painful this time as the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
What can you do against that?
Look, I think he didn't actually have home guards. So I thought maybe he home guarded and that was like an exceptional kill, but that's some damage.
That damage is certainly a word I would use to describe what I just saw. That was pretty much a nuke in the face of Jinx.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can dodge that. It was just a 1-2 knockout.
That was pretty perfect. I mean, it was the barrel into explosive cask both detonating at the same time. Like that was something pretty special to see.
And I have to say, if SK Gaming Prime play consistently like they did in game number 3, I can see them taking this whole tournament. Because they came second last time. Ninjas in Pajamas got DQ'd. So therefore, from that stat, you'd have to say they're favorites.
Yeah.
And the way they played there was very promising.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. They got some tough competition. I mean, earlier we saw Gamers 2 advancing over Unicorns of Love. And up next, we're going to see Cloud9 Europe playing their first series of the day. Don't look at me like that. They are going to play.
I know you forgot who they're playing against.
They're up against Zen Faculty. I know who they're playing. Don't say that to me. God,
production.
Just because Vince doesn't remember
Good guys
the
production.
schedule. Just because Vince doesn't remember the schedule doesn't mean we all don't remember the schedule. Cloud9 against Zen Faculty is coming up in just a couple of minutes. Stick with us here for the FACEIT Challenger Invitational number 2. We'll be back with our last series of the day in just a few minutes' time.